из Грей спросил меня о Даманхуре, был ли я там. И когда узнал, что еще нет, немножко укоризненно покачал головой и сказал: ты обязательно должен посетить это место. И когда я издал книгу об этом, и когда я только вернулся в Москву после съемок, я заказал большую книгу о Даманхуре, вот таких вот размеров. И увидел на обложке книги имя автора. Необычное имя — Эсперида Ананас. И вот прошлой осенью в Милане была конференция Европейской трансперсональной ассоциации. Перед конференцией я решил непременно посетить это удивительное, загадочное место, которое очаровало меня буквально с первых моментов, когда я разглядывал удивительные храмы Даманхура. И когда мы приехали туда, мы встретили лучащейся, золотоволосой, обаятельной, ярко искрящейся, одетой в белой одежды женщине, которая была нашим гидом по Даманхуру. Это была Эсперида. И вместе с Эсперидой и Манки, ее помощницей по Даманхуру, мы обошли поначалу главную зону Даманхура, а потом отправились в храм. Эсперида была нашим гидом, она показывала все места в храме, рассказывала удивительные истории. Мы были потрясены. Это было потрясение храмом, потрясение Эсперидой, селфикой, потрясение этим удивительным подвигом, который люди совершили 30 лет вручную, вытаскивая земную породу из глубины и строя там удивительное произведение искусства. И между нами завязалась дружба, и я пригласил Эспериду обязательно приехать на 17-й Всемирный трансперсональный конгресс, для того, чтобы представить прежде всего себя, это удивительное существо, представить Даманхур, эту удивительную мировую духовную коммуну, это семя будущего, и поделиться с нами теми открытиями, которые были сделаны там. Итак, встречайте Эсперида Ананас.
Thank you, Vladimir. I have no idea what Vladimir said, but I'm sure it was a wonderful introduction. And thank you all for being here. It's really a great pleasure and an honor to be here for me today. It's the first time that Damanhur and our work is presented in Russia, so it's really important to be here for us. So I would like to thank Stan and Christina Graf for inviting me, Vladimir, Ksenia, the whole organization, and of course you who are here this morning. I am here on behalf of 1,000 people, so I'm a representative of a small human group that for 35 years has been working together to create a different society, with the idea that it is possible to create societies that can help us become more aware, that can help us transform our consciousness. So that this idea that we have to grow spiritually, that we have to transform our consciousness cannot be something that we can only do when we have some free time, or something that we do on weekends or in the evenings, but that it really has to become everyday life, so that everything we do has to be a mirror and an instrument for this transformation. In these 35 years, we have built a large community. We have about now 40 different settlements in a beautiful Italian valley. So if you come to visit us, you will not find one big place with a gate around it, but you will find farms, you will find different homes where many families live, you will find schools, you will find agricultural fields, everything that is part of everyday life. We even have our own currency, we create our own money. I don't know how many of you were here at the very interesting presentation that Werner Leder gave yesterday, but one of the solutions for a different world, for a more sustainable and just society, is definitely that of going and looking into the mechanisms of money and wealth. And so we did that too, with the idea that we could bring a new spiritual dimension also to money. To use a money that can only be used locally to support the local economy, and the nurturing of the community. And at the center of our community and our experiment is the idea that in order to have the best tools to open to consciousness, we needed to recreate sacred space. We needed to consider once again, what does it mean to have the dimension of the sacred in our life, and what is sacred space? Because most of us, probably by education, we were born in a world that already existed, where everything was already there. So if you were born in Italy, for instance, most likely you would go to a church, and you would think that that is sacred space. Or if you were born in Israel, probably you would go to a synagogue. Or if you were born in Islam, you would go to a mosque. But that's something that is there, that somebody has created for us. So we thought, well, what would it mean to create sacred space now? What would a sacred space build with our hands, a space that then we are going to use, that we build ourselves look like, and what would be the characteristics of that? And so we started looking at where could be the best energy points in the area where we were, where the energies of the cosmos, we call them the synchronic lines, were more active. And we discovered that probably where we were inside the mountain. And so we started digging inside the mountain with the idea to really rediscover what it means to create something that is sacred, and why can something become sacred. And so we discovered that one of the most important and fundamental tools to create sacred space is, of course, the attitude of your heart, your devotion, how you go about creating it, how you use your hands together with your will, with your intention, and of course then arts. Because art is the most powerful instrument to transform consciousness. When we create something beautiful, something through art, that responds inside of us. So while we were doing this, we also discovered that really every human being is an artist. Again, in our society, the society where we're born into categories. So there are the artists, and there are all the other ones. The artists are very few. What they make is very expensive, and it has to have a market. And all the others, probably after kindergarten, we stop doing art. Right? At kindergarten, we can still play, but then they start telling us, no, now you have to choose what you become. Either you're an artist or you're an engineer. Either you're an artist or you're a doctor. Well, what we feel and what we've been experimenting with is a society that turns everybody into an artist. You can be an engineer and also be an artist. You can be a doctor and also be an artist. Because this artistic spark is really at the heart of the human dimension that allows us to contact the divine. So another one of our main ideas is that inside every human being there is a divine spark. So the divine is not only outside of us, it's also inside of us. Inside of us there are many different rooms. So one of the ideas behind the building of these temples was the idea of trying to recreate the different spaces of our soul, of our psyche, so that we could get deeper and deeper in touch with that divine part which is inside of us. You're seeing some of the slides of the different halls of the temples, and now I will give you also a slide presentation where we go a little more in depth into that space. The temples are called temples of humankind. Again, because we were not looking to create something that was just a place for adoration or a place dedicated to a god or gods. We were really looking for creating a space that could allow that divinity in humanity to reawaken. So for this, we consider the temples to be an accelerators of consciousness, an instrument, a living laboratory. So they are, of course, a place where we can go and meditate, and we have thousands of people from all over the world that come every year, every day. We have wonderful pilgrims coming to meditate in the temples. But most of all, they wanted to be a laboratory for the human alchemy of transformation. Do you have any questions so far before I go into the explanation of the rooms? Anything that you would like to know? Thank you, Maxi. Yes? No? Yes? One question? Yes?
Can we go there for visiting or stay a few days?
Sure. You can come to Domino every year, every day, every week, every day of the year, yes. We always have activities going on. I have here some leaflets. You're very welcome to come and get them at the end of my presentation. And we offer many different things, from seminars to meditations to visits. We have schools, we have an open university. So sure, you would be really, really, very welcome. And this is also a way in which we can keep to grow, is by welcoming people that come and bring their gifts and their ideas, and we can have exchanges with them. Because the idea of Damar, like several other communities around the world, and I know some of you here know or come from Auroville in India, is the idea of creating something that is transnational. We are in Italy, but we do not identify with Italy. We really want to create something that is for humanity, the new humanity that we are creating, the new humanity that is awakening, way beyond the borders of nations. They are such an old concept and not really useful for the awakening and the happiness and the love among human beings. So this is the structure. As you can see, we put the photograph against rock because it has been built inside the rock. So this is a complex of different halls. We have different entrances. The lowest point is 35 meters below ground. We built this completely by hand. And what you see here has been done only by the people who live in Damar. So we did not call anyone to come and help us. We didn't call construction companies. We did it by hand. This is the symbol of the temples, is the buckets, because we took out 2 million buckets of rock by hand. So I will take a bucket, pass it to the next person, on and on and on. And the most interesting thing probably is that we did all of this in secret. For 16 years. We built these temples in secret because we did not have building permits, because we are in Italy. Italy, as you know, it's a Catholic country. And they were not very happy with the idea that a group of people got together to create temples that were not a Catholic church. So we could not get a permit. So we started working at night. At night, in secret, for many, many years. And you can imagine that sometimes there was a little bit of noise with the hammer. So we recorded, we were playing records very loud. And people in the village were thinking that we were having lots of parties. And oh, that's community, they're always having celebrations and parties. But actually it was used for covering the noise of the building. And sometimes we even recorded the sound of chainsaws, you know, to cut wood. And we played it very loud to cover the sound of the building. Yes?
I'm sorry, was it a private land?
It was our land. Yes, the land belonged to us, but in Italy, I don't know what it's like in Russia, it's not enough that you own the land. You have to own the land and then you have to have a permit. So we owned the land, but we did not have the permit, so that was illegal. And then it took us 4 years of legal battles from 1992 to 1996 to finally have the Italian government make it legal. Because the church really made it very, very difficult. So we learned a lot, and we collected 100,000 signatures from people that were asking that the temples would become legal because the church wanted them to be destroyed. They said we had to fill them again with rock so that the mountain could be back to the normal state. It was an interesting thing. This is also one of the reasons I think probably Vladimir said it in Russia, I'm not sure, why Alice Gray did this book on the temples with us, because he really wanted this story to be told. Because it's not only the story about a group of people building a temple, but it is a story about a group of people getting united around a dream, an idea, and really having to fight the system to make it happen. And it's a very positive example of how, if we believe in something, we can do things that seem impossible. So the value of that is not only because we did it in Damanhur, but because everybody can do this. We can, if we get together, if we have strong ideas, we really can change the world. And thank you. The next slide, please. Okay, so this is the whole complex as it is today. Thank you. This is the first room. When we enter, the lady on the floor represents the tarot card, the star. And the star means beauty and practical idealism. So these were the archetypes. So there was the ideals under which the temples have been built. So we put them in the first room. And you see that there is a staircase that hides. And that staircase is very important because it is there to remind each one of us that also inside of us there are secret doors. And if we want to find all the beauty, all the talent we have inside, we must never stop at appearance. Most of all in ourselves. The first room is, that we see here, we are starting to go underground, is dedicated to water. So these are alchemical temples. These are rooms for the transformation of our consciousness and our living energies, our forces. So they're dedicated to the elements. This is dedicated to water, and it is the feminine element. Next, please. Thank you. Still the same room, you see now from above. And on the walls, we have many, many different symbols in many ancient alphabets, because this room also represents the library of the temples. Water is linked to memory, so this is the library, it contains the knowledge. This is a detail of the center of the dome, which is made of glass. We're 20 meters below ground, where we have solar neon. So when you're inside the temples, you always have the impression of being in the middle of light. And light for us is very important. This was another one of the important metaphors. The ideas of entering with respect inside Mother Earth and bringing light. It's the same idea of entering deep inside ourselves, our psyche, our soul, and bringing light. Here you see an artistic shot of the room taken from the floor with the dome. And in every room we live like, no, that's okay. It was okay. You can change. Thanks. In every room we leave a part where we leave the rock visible. To always remind ourselves that we are inside Mother Earth. And then we are part of an ecosystem that is much larger than just ourselves. This is another hall. This is called the Hall of Spheres. It's covered with gold leaf. Because this is a room that is used for very profound meditation and alchemical work. No, can you? So the spheres are used to sit in front of them and use them as if they were TV monitors. Except that instead of having TV channels, they're used to look at the internal channels. So again, to get in touch with the different parts of our soul, the different parts that compose our psyche, and also at specific times of the year, the equinoxes and the solstices, which are the times in which the cosmic windows naturally open. We use this room also to explore the possibility of contact with intelligences that do not belong to planet Earth. We've been doing this research for over 20 years, and we have very interesting results. Also, one of the most interesting things is that when we think of extraterrestrial intelligences, often we think of strange little blue beings with antennas, or But we think that maybe this is a little bit of a Middle Ages idea. Because the most important thing to be exchanged in the universe is not a visitation in the body, but it's information and consciousness. So with these experiments, we really had very, very interesting results in being able to tap into different ideas, tap into a different way of using our senses, tap into a different way of using the sense of dreaming. Which really gave us the impression that there is a consciousness out there in which we belong that is much, much vaster than what we're normally used to.
I don't know whether this question comes at the right point, but how did you tap into these ideas? This is so extraordinary. So, were there at the beginning a group of people who were inspired and enlightened?
Damoner has a founder.
One second. Thing is, I cannot hear what is said in the room
Okay.
the microphone.
How do we get these extraordinary ideas? Thank you, Maxime. You're the greatest interpreter I've ever met. He really is. He is wonderful. So yes, Damoner was originated by a man. His name is Roberto Iraudi, and he was very young, and immediately from the beginning, his great gift was that of being able to create a group of people that share this dream together. So Damoner was founded by a group of people, and then the idea of the group being the basic cell continued to expand. And when you get people together in a group, and in this group, everyone can find their uniqueness. So not a group to make everybody uniform, to make everybody the same, but a group in which you recognize that because we're different, we're so valuable, then you open to a consciousness that is collective, that is really, really amazing. So yes, he had the vision, he had the master plan, so he knew how the temples had to look like, but what we put inside the temples, how we interpret all of that, it really is the result of all of us. And now we are 800 people living permanently there, plus 200 in the valley, so it's a lot of people with different ages. You know, we are the third generation. So children born in Damoner were born last year, so there is a huge, quite a vast age span and many different ideas. And the more, as I was saying before, the more we also have people that come from different countries, the more this gets rich. And what I can say in my experience, I've been there for 18 years, it's really that I think it's only because we cannot imagine how powerful and how wonderful it is when human beings really get together like this, that we don't do it. Because if we had this awareness, everybody would be doing this. My adventure in Damoner has been extraordinary. I feel I've grown as a human being, I've grown in every possible field and much more than I could imagine. And always thanks to others. Of course, then, there was also my transformation, but everything was thanks to the fact that others were doing their work and that allowed me to transform. Thank you for this question. We can go to the next. We enter another hall. This is called the Hall of Mirrors. The Hall of Mirrors is dedicated to light, to air, spirituality, so there is a lot of light in this room. Here you have a better view of the hall. Mirrors, again, symbolically, to mirror what we have inside, and also physical mirrors, because mirrors are filters, so they allow certain vibrations to come in and out. This is a wonderful room to be used for dreaming. So we use this room a lot for experiments in dreaming, and also, of course, for music and dance, because of the mirrors and the light. Another view of the room. Recently, last month, we had the wonderful honor of having a ceremony by Nikolai, the shaman from Tuva, who's here also at this conference, which was really, really wonderful. He did this wonderful sound healing ceremony in this hall. The dome, this dome is 100 square meters, 15 meters underground. Again, I remind you, we did this, only people that moved to Damanhur that were not artists before. This is not the work of somebody that we called because we knew they were the masters. These were the people that moved to Damanhur and learned how to do it there. Again, if we did it, you can do it too. This is a balcony right under the cupola that we use for lights when we have concerts in the hall. I don't know, probably you know who Sting is, right? You know who Sting is? The singer, the pop singer Sting? Yes, most of you. Last year, last August, Sting came and asked us to be allowed to spend one night in this home, to sleep there, to dream there. But what was very interesting is how he arrived. He had been to Australia on a quest, on a spiritual quest with the Aborigines. And he did his whole thing, and then at the end, the shaman told him, now, your next step, you have to go and sleep in the temples inside the mountain. Now, Sting did not know that this existed. So he went back to England and to Italy, because he lives in Italy also, and he started asking his friends and the people he knew, do you know what these temples in the mountains could be? Because the shaman said, I have to sleep in these temples. And so then finally, he found us and came saying, can I sleep there? I've been asked by the shamans in Australia. Now, I don't know that we have direct communication via email or by phone with the shamans of Australia. That I don't know. But what I know is that we are linked to a larger consciousness. And this, again, was a proof of it. And so the shamans in Australia do not know where we are. They do not know the address, but they do know that there is a special building somewhere on the planet that is helping people in their spiritual transformation. And I thought this was really a wonderful, wonderful example of how we're all connected. This is a detail of one of the altars dedicated to the element water. There are spheres, as you saw in the holospheres, again in every hall of the temple, and they are the main energy points, the activation points for each one of the rooms. We have a form of sacred dance in Damanhur, where each movement corresponds to a meaning, like in every sacred dance in the world. And of course, this hall is the best one for doing that, because you can see your movements in the windows. Sorry, in the mirrors. We are to another hall. This is the Hall of Metals. Metals as a symbol of the alchemical transformation of ourselves. So this is the ceiling with dancers and a fire, which represents the spiritual fire of every human being. The room is going now to be completely transformed. So here you see one of our painters at work, completely changing, transforming the whole. The temples are, for us, a living organism. And so as we achieve more understanding, more insight, we constantly transform the art. So there are many layers of paintings on the different walls. Here you see better parts of the walls. So this is how the hall is being painted now, with many colors and landscapes. And the next slide is how it used to be. Only one color. So we're changing completely the feel of this room. Again, this is a wonderful room for meditation because it has a very special acoustics. So we use this a lot also for working with sound. A new hall, we're getting lower and deeper inside the mountain. We are 30 meters now, and this is the entrance to the Hall of the Earth, dedicated to our planet. This is a panorama shot of the hall, which is composed of 2 rooms. What we see here is the upper room, and down there is the lower room. So this is a hall in the shape of an 8. And the 8 is the symbol of infinity. Once again, to remind ourselves that yes, we are on a little tiny planet called Earth, but we are part of something much larger. We're part of something that is actually infinite. And it is in this dance between where we are and something much vaster that we can fully grow and become complete human beings. So for us, the idea of the human being is not defined by the body, it's defined by the soul. So on this planet, as human beings, this is what we wear, and it's very convenient for the conditions we have here. But probably in other parts of the universe, the soul that is manifested through us here now can manifest in many different ways. And again, this is an interesting hypothesis to have. What is life? How vast is it? How much of this can I contain in me as a seed? This is one of the doors of the Hall of the Earth, and it's dedicated to our star, to the sun. Also, this is built on an ideogram of a language that we use in the temples, and the ideogram means masculine principle. Opposite is the ideogram for feminine principle in the door dedicated to the moon. These doors are quite high. They are over 2 meters tall. This is an artistic shot that shows you the ceiling, which is all painted to represent a mandala, and the 8 columns in China and gold. Again, details of the columns. And this is the detail of the mosaic. One of the things that are very important for us in Dhamma is the exploration of time. And we explore time in every possible way. The individual time, the time of our life, the different ages we go through, collective time, cosmic time, because for us, one of the hypotheses that we have is that this is not the first cycle of civilization. There have probably been other cycles that history now, as we know it, do not recognize. They say, this is the first time we go from Stone Age to today in a constant line of evolution. Well, we think that probably this is not how things went. Probably there have been cycles of civilization before. Some can identify one of them with Atlantis, or more. It doesn't really matter the name, but what is important to us is the idea that there is a part of the heritage of humanity that is not from this time. And then we need to be able to retrieve that. We need to be able also to awaken that part in ourselves to be complete. So that then we can have a real link between what really is our past and what our future is going to be. So Dhamma really is an experiment in trying to bridge the past of humanity in the broadest possible sense with a sense of the future, where humanity can be, what humanity can become. So this, in this mosaic, is a story about the time of our life. And this represents the age of when we become adults. And we represented it with the idea of playing. Because when we become adults, something very important happens in ourselves. And it is the moment in which we realize that the gifts we have are not for ourselves. They are to be shared with others. That the way to fully become complete, happy and realized is not by keeping what we have for ourselves, it's by giving it to others. So we represented this passage into the adult age, the aware age, with music. Music is something that gives you joy when you play it, and at the same time gives joy to others. And then, this is the oldest age, and this is the same woman, younger and older. And for those of you who know how to play chess, you can see that the older woman is winning. That's to say that if we live fully, we don't become older, we become wiser. And then we have more understanding, more strategies, to play the game of life. You see they're playing on a clock, so the idea that we're telling the story of our life is very obvious. This is the scene of this room, and again it is linked to time, because what we've represented, the paintings represent different constellations and zodiac signs. So the idea of a cycle of time that rotates and is a cycle that comes over and over. And also, I don't know how far you can see from here, but can you see the dots of light from down there? These are stars. So we have created stars of a sky seen from our latitude on a summer night of 22,000 years ago. We had to do some research before we could find the map of the sky 22,000 years ago. But again, this is the idea of a cosmic time, of a longer time than just the one we're conceiving now, and also the link with an important moment of the past of the history of humanity. This is another artistic photograph of the hall. It gives you an idea of the mosaics, the central column, the capital, and the ceiling. In the central column, we have a man and a woman, and parts of their bodies are animals. So they represent the idea that we're not the masters of this planet. We are not here to dominate. We are here to share and to be the stewards of the planet, because we really are the same thing. So the artist represented this idea with a man and a woman with parts of animals in their bodies, and the faces are covered with gold leaf. Again, to remind ourselves that we have a divine part, that as human beings we are a bridge between the spiritual and the material world. Again, we see the hall with the central column. And here we go to another hall. This is called the labyrinth. And the labyrinth is very important because, again, it's about time. It tells the story of time from a very specific point of view. That is the main divinities, the main gods that throughout the history of humanity people have linked to. And what we want to represent here is the idea of a unity. Unity and harmony between all the divine forces, so that we can finally have unity and harmony between all people. So again, as Karen Singh was saying in the opening speech, a time in which we can go beyond religion to really find true spirituality, where every form of connection and devotion to the divine can be respected and live in harmony with others, where every human being can recognize the divine in other human beings and allow them to express it as they feel is their way of expressing that link to the divine. And this is another photograph of the same hall. These are steps which are covered with mirrors. Mirrors again, because this is a hall dedicated to the divine forces. So when we are in there, we also see ourselves, because we also are divine. But because we haven't fully awakened to that, we get only fragments of our image in those mirrors. So again, it reminds us that we are divine and we still need to do a little bit of work to be fully aware of that. Here are just some examples of the windows. There are many windows. This is the Buddha. This is Ra, ancient Egyptian force of the sun. Tengri, the god creator of the Mongolian people. Gaia, the goddess of the earth of the ancient Greeks. Can you go back? And so these are 3 examples. At the moment we have 35 windows. So 35 different people represented, and we keep creating, because the idea, we really want to have hundreds of different divine forces to really create a journey through the different devotion of the world. So now we're out of the temples, we're nearby, and this is a big hall. This time, this was already excavated, so we don't have to excavate, we just have to build. What we want to do here is the continuation of the temples. We want to build a new temple dedicated to the different indigenous people of the world. We want to create a container where every indigenous people from the world, from those of the Amazons to those of Northern Europe, everywhere, can come and share with others their knowledge, their traditions. What is really, really important to realize that the indigenous people of the world are the only ones so far that have been able to live for thousands of years in harmony. They are the ones that have not destroyed the natural environment. They are the ones that have not lost their connection with the divine. So we have a lot to learn from them. On the other hand, these cultures tend to be very conservative. Normally, they perceive time as a cycle that repeats itself over and over again. So their cultures are to keep the tradition as it is. So we thought, if we can bring their knowledge, their wisdom, together with a wisdom from the West that has the idea of a possible evolution, and bring them together for the future of humanity, we can probably create a new way that has not been tried yet, with the full knowledge of what is our past and these people that know how to be in communion with nature, with the earth, with the cosmos, and with an idea of bridging it to the future. So this is what these temples will be dedicated to. And in the next slide, I'm just going to show you this is a text for those temples, so it's a beginning of some frescoes that will be done for there. I don't know if you can see, but it's the idea of all the different peoples of the world represented with their food. We chose the idea of representing them with their food because food is the link to Mother Earth, is what nourishes us, is what makes us remember every day that we belong here. We can't do without food, we can't do without the earth. So we represented each one of these people with their food, their way of linking, honoring the earth and being part of this whole. And then in the upper part, our artists use their imagination to imagine different beings, different intelligences. Again, this idea that we're part of an ecosystem, most of which we don't know yet. But we know that it starts with the tiniest particle of what is to the God that is all that is. And we're all together. It's just one whole at different levels of consciousness. And the human being has this wonderful position of being in between, having the responsibility and the honor of being this bridge. So this is what the temples are about, to remind us of that, to help us awaken to that, maybe to help us put the plug in a little more into our divine source. And this will be the new project, the Temple of the Peoples. Silvia is going to present after me. She's a wonderful sound healer, so I hope that one day you come and try the acoustics of our temples. And wonderful. So if you're interested, I have leaflets here. You're welcome to come up, and if you have any questions for me, when you see me anytime around here, please come up and just share with me.